Hey everybody!
Hi people.
Welcome to Super Breakfast Friends Club, the show where this is happening today.
The show that happens sometimes, and other times it doesn't. And when it does, it is a dark day for humanity.
I'm Mike.
And I am not.
This week, play the opening.
Pokémon Kanto だぜ。遠い日の中、水の中、草の中、森の中、土の中、雲の中のこのスカートの中、なか大変だけど、必ずゲットだぜ。ポケモンゲットだぜ。マサラタウンにさよならバイバイ。俺はこいつと旅に出る。鍛えた技で勝ちまくり、仲間を増やして次の街へ。いつもいつでもうまくいくなんて保証はどこにもないけど、いつでもいつも本気で生きてるこいつ勝ちないよ。
That's right. You know it. You fear it. It's Pokemon.
You gotta catch 'em all, except not that this is the different song. We'll play the Gotta Catch 'em All song later.
Yeah, this is the last good one.
And we'll just take the copyright claim.
What are they gonna do? Take the $0 we make in AdSense?
No, they're gonna put ads all over it of their
Oh.
own and take the money.
No, that's even worse.
I know. That's what they do. If you see any ads on any of our episodes, those ads aren't ours. They were put there by a company that claimed the episode. Just so you know.
I don't know why anyone would want to claim this.
But they do it. They do it regularly.
They say, we want our stink all over that stank.
This episode is called Pokémon Getto da Ze, and it aired on TV Tokyo on April 15th, 1997. It was written by Atsuhiro Tomioka, who we've talked about before, because he also wrote the Ace Attorney episode that we watched.
Very similar, Pokemon and Phoenix Wright.
He's written for a ton of high quality anime shows. I was looking through his list again, and there's a lot of good stuff on there.
Well, good for him.
The title, Pokémon Getto da Ze, is Satoshi's catchphrase in the Japanese version. He says it constantly throughout the entire series.
You will never forget it, and you will hate it every time.
Ash doesn't really have an equivalent. Ash doesn't have a catchphrase, I don't think.
No, other than gotta catch 'em all.
Which I don't think he ever said.
No, I don't think he does either.
The song sure likes to repeat it, but I don't think Ash ever... I think Gotta Catch 'em All is Ash's Gotta Go Fast. It's the same thing, because Sonic never said Gotta Go Fast until the live-action movie, I don't think.
Sonic says it all the time. What are you talking about?
Yeah, people think he does, but you know what it is? It's the 4Kids theme song for Sonic X.
Which randomly gets stuck in my head from time to time, even though I never watched it.
And it's bad.
And it's bad.
But this isn't an episode about Sonic X. This is an episode about Pokemon. This episode picks up exactly where the last one we looked at left off.
Yeah.
It's Ash facing down Caterpie in Viridian Forest, about to throw a Pokeball.
Heated battle.
Yeah, heated battle of stares. Because they're just staring at each other.
Yeah, he doesn't do any damage to it. But you know, we've all been there. It's a weenie. You just throw a ball at it and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think Caterpie does have one of the easiest catch rates of any Pokemon, so...
Yeah, I think so too. Like anything on Route 1 Route 2, Viridian Forest equivalent. You just throw a ball at it.
I liked the extra little detail that the narrator drops in about how in Viridian Forest it's dark even at noon. It really put me there in the scene, you know?
No, I can't relate.
No, you never been in a forest like that?
Oh, I have. I just can't say that it really got me into this heated Caterpie battle.
Oh, not the battle, but just the place. Just got me thinking about the place. I was like, oh yeah.
It's got me thinking about trees.
That's what it's like there. The shot of Caterpie entering the Pokeball is so dramatic.
That was probably the longest struggle scene I've seen in anything ever.
Yeah, with the ball wiggling.
Mm-hmm.
It's drawn out for a long time. It's extremely tense. I liked it. I thought it did a pretty good job capturing how tense it can be when you've thrown a ball and you're waiting to see if you're going to get all of the wiggles or if it's going to break out. Can't say I've ever felt that way throwing a Pokeball at a Caterpie, but...
That's what I was about to imply. Like, yes, I agree with you in principle, but I can't stop thinking about the fact that it is a Caterpie.
But this is the first Pokemon he's ever caught.
That's true.
And he's 10.
I don't remember getting that excited about catching a Rattata, though.
I know, but after all his failures...
After all these many, many failures...
Because remember, he couldn't catch that Pidgey. He kept trying. It wasn't working out
He couldn't catch that Pidgey. His Pikachu practically got murdered.
Yeah. So I get it. He's so excited when it actually stops wiggling and he's caught his Caterpie.
Yeah.
It was cute.
That is more excited than I've ever felt about a Caterpie in my life.
Yeah. But he's been waiting his whole life. See, we weren't waiting our whole lives for Pokemon.
This is true. Pokemon was waiting for us.
We didn't know what Pokemon was until we started playing it. He's been waiting his whole life with Pokemon all around him, desperately wanting one.
With Pokemon on the brain.
Yeah, we saw his bedroom.
We did.
With all his, everything's a Pokemon in some way.
He did throw a Pokeball in his sleep.
Yeah, he threw a Pokeball in his sleep, but it was actually a Voltorb alarm clock with a Pidgey inside it.
Yeah, but it's a Pokeball, and I can't say that I've ever done that. I do sleep on a Pikachu, though.
You don't need to throw a Pokeball. You've already captured
I already
it.
caught him. He's mine.
Misty is not super happy about Ash's new catch.
She doesn't like bugs.
No, she's afraid of bug Pokemon, which was established very briefly in the previous episode. Ash brings his new Caterpie out to walk with them, so Misty runs away and hides behind a tree. But Caterpie just kind of zeroes in on her and charges over to rub itself against her leg.
I thought it was cute that before he even brought Caterpie out, he showed the ball to Pikachu and was like, "This is our new friend!"
Yeah, it was cute, and Pikachu sniffs it.
Mm-hmm.
Caterpie here really reminded me of, have you ever known a cat or a dog that really zeroes in on someone who doesn't like cats or dogs?
Yes.
This is the vibe I was getting from Caterpie. I feel like it's really common that cats and dogs will sense that someone isn't into them and will overcompensate and put extra effort into trying to win them over.
Meanwhile, I'm desperately trying to pet them and they just walk away from my extended arms.
Yes, that happens to me all the time. And there's one person in the room who raises their legs up onto the couch so that the dog can't touch him, and the dog's like, "That's the person I want attention from."
I'm on the floor lying next to it, just pleading, trying to get it to look in my direction.
Caterpie is played by Rikako Aikawa, who also plays Ash's Squirtle, Ash's Krabby, Misty's Starmie and Psyduck, and Brock's Vulpix.
It's quite the repertoire.
It is. In later iterations of the show, she'll also play Ash's Lapras, his Poipole, May's Combuskin, Tracy's Venonat, Jessie's Dustox. She's done a lot of Pokemon voices. She is also Oxnard in Hamtaro.
Yeah.
And she's the Japanese dub voice of Lilu in The Fifth Element.
Strange, but okay.
And tons of other things, but those were the things that really stood out to me. Caterpie is, I think, our first example, besides Pikachu, of a Pokemon whose voice does not get changed for the dubs, so...
It is just a lot of shrieking.
It's shrieking, but that's the funny thing, like, in the Japanese version, there are a lot of Pokemon who don't say their name. There are a lot of Pokemon who just make noises. And usually, the English version will change that and make them say their name. But then every now and then they'll leave one the same, and it doesn't... I mean, it wouldn't matter with Caterpie anyway, because its name is the same in Japanese and English, but it doesn't say its name, it just kind of shrieks, and they kept it.
Strange for a bug to do, but whatever.
I don't know, what sound would a bug make?
I don't know. What's the sound of pinching mandibles?
Like, if it was that big, I feel like, if it was that big and we could hear their voices. Because if you were bug-sized, you probably could hear their cries. I don't know. I'm no bug scientist. I'm just a bug detective.
A great bug detective?
I wish. I'm a mediocre bug detective.
I do all right.
Ash thinks Caterpie is very cute, but Misty wants it kept away from her forever, and Caterpie gets sad about it. Misty says that the 3 things she hates the most are carrots, bell peppers, and bugs. And then Ash says that he likes all of those things. And I can't relate. I don't like carrots.
You don't like carrots?
I don't like carrots. Do you like carrots?
I don't think they're anything fantastic, but I'll eat a carrot.
I used to hate bell peppers, but they've grown on me.
I like bell peppers.
I like them now. Put them in my chili all the time.
And I can appreciate bugs from a distance, but when they crawl upon my body or within my home, we are not friends anymore.
I like them. I like bugs.
If I invite a bug upon my body, it's different.
Which ones are okay?
The typical ones, like ladybugs.
I was going to say ladybug. I feel like ladybugs are the one that, like, very few people have a problem with a ladybug, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the one safe bug.
Even though they're always sneaking into houses somehow. Like, where do they come from?
They just want to come in and say hi.
Well, they can do that from the other side of the window.
I used to be afraid of spiders, but I quite like them now. I usually let them chill in my house because they take care of the more annoying bugs. Because mosquitoes are the only bug that I will kill on sight.
Yeah.
So I let spiders hang out to eat them for me.
Same. But we do also get black widows and brown recluses. So it's not like we should be out there touching spiders.
We don't get those here, so I don't have to be as vigilant about spiders as you do. We don't have any of the actually dangerous ones.
I've seen black widows. They're chunky.
Yeah. I know, like, it's pretty common for them to be in people's, like, basements and stuff over there, isn't it? And
probably.
I know if you I've been told that if you have, like, an old shed in your garden in America that doesn't get used very much, you need to be careful about black widows moving in.
They're not super uncommon.
Yeah.
There was one that was living in front of my dad's house, just chilling.
Yeah.
Saw one on a Denny's, but that makes sense.
What did they order?
No, they didn't let it inside.
Oh.
And for Denny's, you gotta be a rough patron to not be allowed inside.
I thought it was cute how sweet and nurturing Ash was being to his new little bug friend.
Mm-hmm. He's trying to pump him up.
Yeah. I really liked the image of Ash just walking around with his hands in his pockets and Caterpie on his shoulder.
I liked that they were doing that in the opposite direction of Misty.
You're just walking away.
Like, whatever, she's not cool with my bro, we're out of here.
He puts his Pokemon before Misty. It's like when she's freaking out about Caterpie and demanding that Caterpie be put back in his Pokeball, Ash is just like, well, we'll go without you then. Then she follows him anyway, trying to hide about it, being a creeper in the woods.
Yeah. It's not like he told her not to follow them, but she just is being a creep about it.
I mean, he does turn around and yell, like, why are you following us?
But as far as we know, that was the first he had a problem with it.
Yeah, I think it seems to me like his attitude is like, yeah, you can follow me, but you're going to have to accept my bug. And if you want to try and follow me and not accept my bug, then I'm going to call you out for it. But of course, this is where she formally declares that he owes her a bike. Something which will be a running thing for a million years. Like, even the soundtrack album has a part where she calls him out for owing her a bike.
Does it?
Yes, I can't remember which song it is. But there's one song where during the bridge, Ash, Brock, Misty, and Pikachu have a little bit of dialogue. It might be Together Forever.
Come on, you guys! I gotta get another badge! You better figure out how to repay me for my broken bike, Ash Ketchum!
Oh no, not this again! Together forever!
So now it's suddenly nighttime. Ash is saying goodnight to his Pokemon. He's all wrapped up in his sleeping bag already. And there's a roaring fire in a dense forest.
And he's just going to bed.
He's just going to sleep. That's basic camping safety, right? Is that you're supposed to put the fire out before you go to sleep.
He is a 10-year-old, and they just sent him out into the wilderness.
That's true. They taught him how to make a fire, but not anything else. Like, he's made this fire. It's not like there's a fire guy going around the woods starting fires for all the children that are sleeping rough tonight.
That's true. He hasn't caught Charmander yet.
Yeah. So did his mom give him a book of matches? That's a bad idea.
Here's some propane and some matches. Go have fun here.
Don't forget to change into your pajamas before you go to bed, though. Oh, he didn't do that.
He didn't?
No, it's like the one thing she told him to do, and he's sleeping just in his jeans and his t-shirt, I feel like.
I didn't think we ever really got to see. I guess when he bursts out later to catch Pidgeotto, it's not like he's in some Ebenezer Scrooge nighty.
He might have lost his pajamas, actually, now that I think about it.
To the birds?
Yeah, because in the first episode, he tried to catch a Pidgey with his pajamas.
Oh, yeah!
So maybe he lost him, I'm not sure. Because I think throughout the entire show, he just sleeps in his... He just takes his jacket and shoes off and hat to go to sleep.
He must stink.
He must, yeah. Because I'm pretty sure he always just sleeps in his black t-shirt and his jeans, which is just what he wears all the time.
Yeah?
I never think about the fact that he wears a black t-shirt because he's always got that blue jacket over it.
I just assumed it was like one of those shirts that's sewed into the other one.
Oh, yeah. I've had a couple of those in my time. They're stupid.
They are, but dang if they aren't practical.
Yeah. It was such a big thing in the 2000s, wasn't it? Like just having like a short sleeve t-shirt that had a fake long sleeve t-shirt sticking out of the sleeves. To make it look like you dressed in layers when actually you were just wearing one thing and everyone was being fooled.
Or like a cami sewn in.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
we're gonna cut this shirt super low, but don't worry, girls. We're gonna give you this half of a cami to make everybody think that this is an ensemble.
Yeah, I had a few of those like short sleeve shirts with the long sleeves sticking out of the short sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point I was just like, if I want to dress like this, I could just do it. I don't need a ready-made version.
But then you have to buy 2 shirts instead of
And
1.
then I can mix and match them.
Listen, fancy pants.
So Misty's just sleeping on the other side of a stump.
Yeah.
Ash has chosen to sleep next to this huge stump. And Misty has chosen to sleep on the other side of the stump.
And because we never really see them, like, reconcile in any meaningful way, she's just kind of creeping over there like a cryptid.
Yeah, it's definitely... Ash is on his own journey at this point. As far as he's concerned, he's traveling alone with no other humans.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just this girl who's just nearby, who keeps offering up her opinion on his journey, unsolicited.
To be fair, though, Ash sucks at being a Pokemon master.
He does, but I just love how visibly annoyed he is by her just like hanging around and complaining about his bug.
That's true. Like, no one asked you to be here.
Yeah, like she's just complaining about Caterpie. She's just there to complain about his new friend.
Ash, I don't like you hanging out with these bug types.
So this scene, after Ash goes to sleep, we have an extended conversation, I guess you could call it,
More or less.
between two characters who don't speak words.
It was a little excessive.
It goes on for a long time, right?
It goes on for a really long time.
And it's just really weird. I don't know what they're talking about. The moon is in some way involved.
I think the key to what's going on here is that Pikachu and Caterpie are bonding. And then Caterpie gazes up at the moon longingly as a Butterfree flies over it, so that we know that's Caterpie's dream, to become cocoon goo.
Yes, to cocoon itself and melt its body down into a paste which will become a butterfly.
Butterfrog.
But I had a hard time with that word. For anybody who doesn't know, that's what a caterpillar does. It melts itself inside a cocoon and then becomes a butterfly. I don't know why they do this.
Sometimes they come back as moths without mouths, and they spend the rest of their lives starving to death.
God, is there any clearer evidence against the existence of God? Yeah, moths. There's a ton of moths that don't have mouths, but they still need to eat, and they cannot. So they simply live until they starve.
Poor rosy maple moths.
I have
So
no
beautiful.
mouth, and I must eat.
I sent you a picture.
Oh, let me have a look. Where is it? Ah! I love that this is like... It's Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
but it in no way relates to this episode. Or any specific generation, even.
No. I was like, I don't want to draw just the Gen 3 starters. What's a different grass starter?
Yeah, it's 2/3 Hoenn and then Rowlet snuck in.
I got nothing against Trico, but I just didn't want to draw him.
No, didn't you choose Trico? I think we talked about that before.
I did. The first time I played Sapphire, I picked Trico.
Me too. And then
And then we were all disappointed.
yeah, and then once it evolved into Skeptile, I reset my game.
That's rude.
Yeah, that was before I used to get so attached to my Pokemon. I really struggle to reset a Pokemon game these days.
Yeah, because you're killing your friends.
Even when I do get a disappointment in a starter, I still stick with it these days. Looking at you, Samurott.
Oh, yeah. I picked Snivy because I was like, I can't do it.
Did you already know what they evolved into?
I did.
I did not when I started.
At least I'm pretty sure I did. I can't remember. I can't remember if I used to look at all the Pokemon back then. Actually, no, I don't think I did. Because that was Unova, and I don't think I...
Yeah, I feel like we had that shared experience of like finding out together. Because we were deep in each other's lives at that point.
Unlike today.
I remember the conversations we had about it. I feel like you were all in on Snivy right from when it was first revealed.
I do really like Snivy.
Yeah. I was all in on Oshawott right from the beginning. But once I saw their evolved forms, I think if I were choosing now, it would be Tepig, based on what they evolve into.
I think I'd still go Snivy.
Yeah, I think it worked out for you.
I like Superior. I'm not in like with Superior.
How do you feel about the knowledge that it actually does have arms?
I feel lied to. I feel cheated. I want my slithery snaky boy.
Yeah. Yeah, when I found out that what I thought were just leaves were actually arms tucked behind its back, I still have strange feelings about it.
It still keeps me up some nights, just not most nights anymore.
Anyway, let's get back to Generation 1. Let's get back in the mindset that there are only 150 Pokemon.
No! Let's go back to Generation 3.
We will. We'll watch that weird filler-sounding second episode. Where they're suddenly looking at fossils. And the second episode is about Relicanth.
Oh, yeah!
That's what it was.
Everyone's favorite Pokemon from that generation. Wasn't the only significant thing about Relicanth the fact that you needed it to get the Reggies?
Yeah, I think so. And you could only get it like in the deep sea parts.
It had like a 5 or 10% chance of appearing.
You had to go diving for it. It was super rare, and you needed it. Well, it was like first comes Wailord, second comes Relicanth. I can't remember.
No, me neither. I do remember those two, but after that, it's a mystery. And then like Unknowns, BUTT.
Yeah, you got to spell butt with unknown. If you want to enter Reggie Ice's palace, you're gonna need to spell out the rudest word you know.
FART.
Oh.
Too rude.
Oh, that's a good one. All right, you can go in.
It's not the one I had in mind, but I guess it works.
That's a new one for my dialect. Let me write that down in the book.
Who's this old man that's guarding Reg Ice's cave?
Yeah, and he needs to learn swear words. He's been sealed up with Reggie Ice for 100 years, let's say, and he's missed out on all the new swears. He won't let you in unless you teach them to him.
What's this got to do with getting the legendary Pokemon? Not much. I'm just really bored. You could have walked around me, but you stopped and talked to me like a fool.
You're the one who didn't want to read the Braille yourself.
Come on, 13-year-old boy. You don't know Braille?
Yeah, it really did demand that you learn Braille, huh? There's nothing in the game that tells you what the Braille means. You have to look it up in the game's manual.
Oh. I didn't even realize it was in the manual.
Yeah, it's in the manual.
I was like, how do they expect people to even know that that's Braille?
I know.
I was a small child at the time. I knew what Braille was, but I can't say it occurred to me it existed in real life.
I did not know what Braille was, but I was one of those kids who would flip through the manual to see if there were any cool pictures in there. And I got to the section on Braille, and I was like, why is this in here?
Did this Pokemon manual, get misprinted with a Braille guidebook?
Because it doesn't tell you why you're going to need to know Braille. It just has a section on Braille. Anyway, now it's morning. Misty wakes up and Caterpie is sleeping next to her, and he's so cute.
He's pretty cute.
I want a Caterpie.
He just wants to love Misty, and she hates him so much.
She really does. She freaks out and screams at him, and he sadly crawls back to his Pokeball and goes inside it all on his own.
She does demand that he crawl inside of it, so she doesn't have to look at him anymore.
Yeah. Ash demands that Misty apologize to him, and she refuses. I feel like usually when Ash and Misty fight, we're supposed to side with Misty most of the time. Like, usually she's the one in the right, and Ash is being an idiot. But in this case, I'm entirely on Ash's side.
Yeah.
Ash is actually the one being reasonable.
She's berating him this whole time for not taking care of Pikachu, for not loving Pokemon enough, and then she spends this entire episode screaming at poor Caterpie.
Yeah, just for existing, for the crime of existing. But this is where Pidgeotto flaps in.
Yeah, this guy.
And we see it eating a worm, which is not a Pokemon.
I did have that thought as well.
Yeah, there's a few instances in the early series where we see non-Pokemon animals. It's weird.
It is. It takes me out of it.
The first time they go to Cerulean Gym, there's a tank full of just real-life fish. But then the next time, like towards the end of the series, they go back there, and now the tank is just full of fish Pokemon. So it's like, what happened to the fish?
Pidgeotto ate them.
I feel like the last time I remember real life animals showing up in the show is in the SSN episode, where you see a bunch of real fish again.
It's always the fish.
Yeah, it is mostly fish. Although there is one example. It's not in the show. It's a promo image from a magazine. And it looks like a screenshot from the show, so I don't know if it was a deleted scene or something, but it's Ash and his friends walking through one of those like late summer fairs that they have in Japan, you know, where everyone's like wearing kimonos and they're selling masks and stuff.
Yeah.
And as they're walking through it, if you look in the crowd, there's just this little white dog walking away from the camera. And it's just a real dog. I think somewhere there's some concept art that has a real cat in it as well, but I can't remember. These days, it's pretty well established that the Pokemon, the only animals in the Pokemon world are the Pokemon themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Pidgeotto is played by Megumi Hayashibara, who we've talked about before because she's also the voice of Jessie. Pidgeotto's Japanese voice is also kept for the dub. They didn't bother translating that, so both the new Pokemon
Translating.
voices... Yeah, you know what I mean. Both the new Pokemon voices that got introduced this episode are both the same voices you would have heard in the dub. And they're also both mostly screaming.
I got distracted making something dumb, as usual.
Let me see it. Aww. I remember Mario Party 10.
I could never forget him. He's my favorite.
That's what you get when you ask me to name something.
Listen, that's what sold me on Dustox as a Pokemon. Because before that, I was like, oh, it's just a crappy bug. But then I had one named Mario Party 10, and I kept him in my party forever.
Your Mario Party?
No, my Pokemon party.
10?
No.
Sorry.
What would Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby be?
Like, if it was numbered?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like 15? Well, I mean, how do you number it? Do you number them? Because there's a few ways you can go about it. You can number it. Each generation is a new number, but the remakes aren't, because those would just be remakes of other numbers. Or you number the remakes as well. Or you number every individual version. So, like, red is Pokemon 1, blue is Pokemon 2, or I guess green would be Pokemon 2. Blue would be Pokemon 3.
Because I understand the logic behind keeping the number for a remake, but Alpha Sapphire, Omega Ruby added a lot to the game as well. It wasn't strictly a remake.
I was talking about this with CG recently. Because, most of the Pokemon remakes, I don't really consider remakes. They're more like reboots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only exception is Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Yeah, and that's why I didn't buy that one.
No.
Because I was like, I've played this game. I don't need...
I don't need to pay $60 more to play it again.
Yeah, but all the other remakes they've done added so much that it doesn't really feel like you're replaying the same game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the same story, but there's enough new there that it feels significantly different. Especially with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I feel like that was the most different from the originals.
Yeah, they added a bunch of stuff.
And then they went the complete opposite direction, and I was sad
Took
about
everything away.
It didn't even have the new stuff that Platinum added.
Oh yeah, and like Platinum is universally one of the most loved Pokemon games.
Yeah.
Not Diamond and Pearl, but Platinum.
Yeah, for reasons. Good reasons.
For very good reasons.
Anyway. So Ash tries to throw a ball at Pidgeotto the same way he did with Caterpie, and it does not work.
No, he bats it away.
Yeah, just effortlessly. He doesn't even open his eyes when he does it.
I loved it. It's very sassy.
And Misty berates him for not weakening it first, and has to throw in another jab at Caterpie.
Yeah, because Caterpie's a weak wiener. That's why he didn't struggle.
So to prove Caterpie's worth, Ash sends it out to battle Pidgeotto.
Which everybody knows is what you do.
Even Pikachu is like...
This boy has studied Pokemon his entire 10 years of life, and he doesn't know the basics of Pokemon.
He doesn't know about type matchups.
He doesn't think sending a tiny little worm against a giant bird is a bad idea.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's coughing.
It's Caterpie, Mel.
Darn it, they look so similar.
Ash is all confident about his Caterpie fighting this Pidgeotto, but that confidence fades a bit when Misty tells him he's an idiot. And then,
also when it immediately gets attacked.
Yeah, and meanwhile Pidgeotto's trying to eat Caterpie. Misty tells Ash to call it back, so he does, and he sends Pikachu out, which is a much smart... My only worry with Pikachu would be that you'd kill it too quickly.
Right, in one hit.
Yeah. But I guess that's not really an issue in this show. It seems like they actually do try to knock him out before throwing a Pokeball most of the time in the show.
Yeah, that did always confound me. Like, it's helpless on the ground. Why can't I catch it?
Yeah, it's been knocked out. It's just lying there.
It's a free Pokemon.
No, you knocked it out too hard. Now you must leave it to die.
Now you have to put it down, Ash.
So Pikachu hits it with one Thunder Shock, and then Ash is able to catch it. It's kind of unceremonious, really.
Yeah, I thought so too.
There was so much fanfare about Caterpie's capture, but then Pidgeotto is caught pretty quickly, and Ash doesn't show anywhere near the level of excitement.
I mean, it's not as cool as my Caterpie, but...
He's just become numb to the rush of catching a Pokemon now. It's been a
He's
whole
already
day.
jaded.
Yeah, it's lost its luster. But, Pidgeotto is going to stay on his team for the entire Indigo League storyline. It's going to be a mainstay, so it's almost odd that there really isn't any fanfare about him catching it here.
Sometimes it takes us a while to realize that the friends we made along the way were the Mario Party 10s we caught on Route 1.
Yeah, it's I feel like Pidgeotto never really got that much spotlight in general. I feel like the only episode that really tells us anything about Pidgeotto is the episode where Pidgeotto leaves.
Right. Like we get Bye Bye Butterfree, we get a whole huge Charizard arc.
Yeah. All of the others. Like, I feel like every other Pokemon Ash catches has a whole episode dedicated to him catching it. Pidgeotto just gets caught as a side event in the Caterpie episode.
Whoops, caught this Pidgeotto. You ever throw a Pokeball on accident and you catch it?
Yes. Who hasn't done that sometimes?
It's the worst.
I have a couple of Pokemon with names like Oops and Mistake and things like
Me
that.
too.
After catching Pidgeotto, Ash comes to show off and gets slapped again.
It was a real good slap too.
Yeah, it was. Misty yells at him for his terrible strategy and for not knowing about type matchups.
Rightfully so.
And I feel like this is kind of a tutorial for the kids watching.
Yeah.
Because this is the first time in the show that type matchups have been mentioned. But all they tell us is that bugs are weak against birds.
And not that Pikachu is strong against birds.
Yeah, they don't tell us that part. And Misty tells him that just loving Pokemon isn't enough.
She can't even do that. She can't even look Caterpie in the eyes.
But then Team Rocket show up. And I love that Ash already reacts to them like they're just a casual annoyance. This is their second appearance.
Yeah, they've been pretty ineffectual so far.
But they show up, they do their motto, and he's just kind of like, we're a bit busy at the moment. Like,
why do you want my Pikachu? There's like 80 in this forest.
Yeah, he doesn't understand why they can't just get their own. But Meowth explains that his Pikachu knows moves it shouldn't know yet at this level.
Yeah, it knows stand on a bike.
Stand on a bike and zap.
Doesn't learn that until level 35.
So Team Rocket send out Ekans and Coughing to fight, and Misty says that if they're using 2 Pokemon, Ash should also send out 2 Pokemon.
Oh my god, that little goody 2 shoes.
Yeah, he doesn't want to because it's against the league rules.
Is the league here, Ash?
Is the league here? Double battles exist, Ash. I guess they hadn't been invented yet, even in universe.
But still, not the point.
Not the point. Also, like, if they were going to have... Why doesn't Misty use one of her Pokemon to fight one of them?
I was wondering that the whole time. Like, if Ash is going to refuse to send out 2 Pokemon, it's clearly because Misty's going to send one out, right?
Yeah, you would think. It's not like they're keeping it secret that she has Pokemon, because she sent one out in the last episode.
And it flopped on the ground.
Yeah, it flopped on the ground, but still, it did something. But she also has Starmie and Staryu on her. But we won't see one of them until after Brock shows up. We won't see... I think the first time we see her actually use a Pokemon to battle is when they're in Mount Moon. And she sends Staryu
Why?
out. I don't know.
She's a gym leader.
Well, that part we're not supposed to know yet. Although we all knew it if we'd played the games.
But we know it now because it's the year 2023.
Yeah. Actually, I think in the show she might not be a gym leader yet. I'm trying to remember. I think her sister is the gym leader right now. And Misty doesn't take over until she leaves Ash before the Hoenn series.
I guess that would explain how she has so much time on her hands.
Yeah, to just travel around.
To just follow a boy around the whole region.
She's pretty far from her home. She was just fishing near Pallet Town.
Yeah.
That's not that far in the game, but in the show it's apparently like a week's walk.
It is far in the game because I hate going through Mount Moon.
Oh yeah. Isn't there a shortcut? Don't you get a shortcut later? Oh, you have to go through the Diglett cave, huh?
Those aren't fun either because the encounter rate is ridiculous. You could take 2 steps and you hit a Diglett.
Yeah. And it's a real problem if it's Generation 3, because half of them have Arena Trap.
Oh, yeah.
You can't even run away.
Diglett's also super fast, so if you have a weak Pokemon at the front of your party, you will not be able to run.
Yeah. So anyway, Coughing spits sludge in Pikachu's eyes, so it can't battle.
That is not how sludge works.
It is not how sludge works, but, well, I actually don't have anything to add.
They're cheating just like they do in the Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah. None of this is Pokemon standard. You couldn't recreate this battle in Pokemon Red and Moon.
Ash is abiding by the rules of the league, but who's abiding by the rules of video games?
Yeah, they're not applying the meta to this battle.
No one is using Surf or Earthquake. I haven't seen a single choice item, and where are the genies?
Pikachu's hidden power is not the correct type. I guess hidden power's gone now, huh?
Mm-hmm.
They removed it.
They did.
So weird.
When the horrible changes happened.
Yeah. So Ash hands Pikachu to Misty to protect. He knows that Caterpie is too injured from battling Pidgeotto, so he sends Pidgeotto out, who apparently is fine from being electrocuted.
Right. In midair.
And also, Pidgeotto is immediately really good at battling despite having absolutely zero training.
Yeah, and Ash just kind of knows its moves, even though he doesn't know anything else.
Even though he caught it literally a minute ago, and they haven't even met properly yet. Like, he caught it, he's never brought it out of the ball since catching it. Because he caught it and then immediately Team Rocket showed up. But it follows his orders immediately. It competently fights Ekans and Coughing at the same time. It holds its own for a while, but eventually it gets blindsided because it's trying to fight two Pokemon at once.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ash is forced to recall it. And he tries to punch James in the face instead.
But he does the whole hold out his arm.
Yeah, holds him by the
against
forehead.
forehead routine.
And James uses his forehead flick attack, which is super effective.
Against shrimps.
I love he literally he just flicks him in the head and announces that that's what he's doing. And Ash like rolls twice away from it.
It was powerful. There's a lot of force in those two fingers.
James is a secret superhuman.
I believe it.
Actually, I guess they must. All of Team Rocket must be secret superhumans because they're constantly fired miles into the air and fall back down and survive it. So
they're lit on fire. They're electrocuted. They blast off into space.
Yeah, they're just like DCU Power Men.
Not the Power Men.
You can't say Superman, it's copyrighted. But I did say DCU.
That could be the Disco Club Unlimited.
That's true. It could be the Dreamcast universe.
It could be Don Carlos Underpants.
So Ash has no choice but to rely on Caterpie now.
This poor battered Caterpie.
Yeah, it comes out and it's like visibly exhausted, covered in bruises, struggling to breathe.
Scratched up. It's when your Pokemon's HP is in the red, and all you can hear is that horrible noise.
Yeah, and every step is the poison noise. That's my main memory of Viridian Forest. That's what they should have put in here. So Ekans and Coughing attack, and Caterpie cowers. I mean, Team Rocket were just laughing at it.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad move.
But that's how you know that this is going to work, because the bad guys aren't taking it seriously.
If it were the actual video game, this never would have worked.
No. Ash would have whited out.
They would have taken his money and his Pikachu, and he would have woken up back at Pallet Town.
Yeah, do you think that's just the strategy that the player characters use in Pokemon? That whenever they lose a fight, they just like throw themselves on the ground and pretend to be unconscious so they don't have to acknowledge the loss.
Oh, I'm having a heart attack. I couldn't give good hands because I'm dying.
How do you feel about how this battle plays out?
I felt cheated as a player of Pokemon.
Yeah. So Ash has an idea at the last minute and tells Caterpie to use String Shot, which it uses to cocoon Coughing and then cocoon Ekans' head. And then it tackles Coughing into Ekans' head and knocks them away.
I do love the satisfying thump of Coughing falling to the ground.
Yes, that's my favorite part. Just like plop. It just plops on the ground. And watching, so then Meowth steps forward and gets his claws out, but he gets mummified. And I thought mummified Meowth was really cute.
I mean, Meowth, no matter what, is cute.
That's true. I think Meowth got less cute over the years, though. I'm looking at the Meowth in this first episode, and he's super adorable in a way that the newer Meowth isn't.
He's got a kind of Western Garfield-y feel.
A little bit.
In the old one. So Meowth got turned into a mummy.
Yeah, and then Team Rocket make a run for it.
Like, I would love if that's how String Shot worked in-game, but it's not.
It sure isn't. Yeah, I don't know what else they could have done, because how do you win a battle against Ekans and Coughing with a Caterpie? You don't.
You don't.
It's just not a thing that happens.
No. It's like when you crawl out of Mount Moon and you're beaten and battered because you've stepped on 7,000 Zubat, and then Blue challenges you to a duel.
Yeah, they needed Ash to win this fight, and they needed Caterpie to be the one that did it. So I get it. I wish there were a better way to do it, but there really wasn't. I don't think.
No.
Caterpie's moves are Tackle and String Shot, and there are no other options.
I mean, they could have let Pidgeotto weaken them a little bit, but Pidgeotto didn't seem to land a single attack.
No, it was holding its own, but mostly that was through dodging.
Yeah.
It was impressive, though. I really enjoyed the Pidgeotto part of the fight.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It was fun to
but
watch.
That's also why it was a little disappointing.
To go to
didn't
this,
do a
yeah.
single thing.
Yeah, well, also, like, coming down from that, from all the intense flying around action of Pidgeotto's part, and then going to this.
And just going to Caterpie spitting on people.
But Ash is excited. He won his first battle. Even though I wouldn't really count this as his first battle, since it was a cheat. They were cheating.
And also because he's been in several battles.
Has he?
I mean, he lost to all those... I was about to call them Weedle. That is not what they're called.
Oh, the Spearows.
Spearow.
I don't think they really battled. They just kind of ran and couldn't get away.
Okay.
Ash was just mashing run on every turn. I guess he did. There was one attack at the end. Trying to apply actual game logic to what happened in that episode. That was a horde battle.
Yeah, pioneered it.
Yeah, it was a horde battle. Ash tried to run every turn and couldn't get away. But then on the last turn, he used Discharge and got all of them in one hit.
Would you say it was a horde battle or was it an SOS battle? Because that Spearow called for help.
It did, but there were more than two of them in play at the same time.
True.
So it's maybe something in between a horde battle and an SOS battle. But you know, there were more than 5 of them as well, so I don't know. There were like 20 of them. At least.
The moral of the story is they cheated.
Everyone so far that Ash has fought has been cheating.
Including the Pokemon.
Yeah, even the wild ones.
That's why they're wild.
Actually, I guess Pidgeotto was being fair as well.
And look what that got him.
Ash tries to get Misty to make up with Caterpie. And she's about to. She's about to pat him on the head. Until he starts spitting everywhere.
Because he's evolving.
Yeah, I feel like this is the only time in the entire show where evolution isn't the Pokemon beginning to glow and then just morphing into a new form.
Yeah.
This actually, like, he spits his string shot in the air and it all comes down and cocoons him.
Like a real Caterpie would do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it works exactly like this, but close enough, I guess. But it's not the usual glowing. Like, I feel
you
like
don't hear the usual evolution music.
Yeah, they should have put that in. So anyway, Caterpie is Metapod now.
Yay! Everyone's favorite Pokemon.
You know, I was always jealous of people who had Pokemon Blue. Because I would much rather deal with Caterpie and Metapod more often than Weedle and Kakuna, which is what I got all the time in Red.
Yeah, and they just sting you to death.
Yeah, you just constantly poisoned all the way through Viridian Forest in Red.
I did love running into Kakuna or Metapod that didn't have any offensive moves. That was the best.
That was fun.
It would take like 20 minutes to battle.
Eventually their defense was so high that it took so long to beat them. Chipping away 1 HP at a time.
But the experience.
It sure was an experience. I experienced it. So Misty watches Ash as he gets to know his Metapod, and she comments on how much he loves Pokemon. And I think that's the key to what makes Ash such a lovable character.
I agree.
He's not that smart, he's not very tough, but he's got a genuine love and passion for every Pokemon he meets, no matter what species it is.
Unlike me.
Yeah. Oh, I know all about you. There's no Pokemon, I don't think, that he ever comes across that he doesn't just immediately love. And that's really cute about him.
Toxic Croak.
Hey, it was the show that made me like Krogunk, at least.
I can get behind Krogunk. I cannot get behind Toxic Croak.
Okay, well, eventually we're going to look at some Krogunk Toxic Croak episodes. Because Brock's Krogunk had a big rivalry with, I want to say it was Saturn's Toxicroak during the Diamond and Pearl episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty good. I love the Diamond and Pearl show. It was really good. Anyway, Ash tries to reinitiate Misty making up with Metapod. She's still not on board with it, really.
No. I don't know. Because it's not as obviously a wiggly squiggly bug, but it is a weird, stiff carapace full of goo.
That's true. Yeah, so she's still not super into the idea of touching it. And just when she's maybe about to make up with Metapod, a Beedrill flies right by her face. And
Ash's tiny attention span is gone.
yeah, she freaks out about the Beedrill. But Ash is really excited to see a Beedrill, so he starts chasing it. And that's how the episode ends, as they run deeper into the forest. And I love that he's just running with Metapod just sticking out of his backpack.
He's just chasing a bee.
He just unzipped his backpack and shoved his Pokemon in there so he could chase a bee. So that's the end.
That's the end of the most exciting, heart-pounding episode of Pokemon yet.
Let's talk about the things I noticed in the dub.
Do it.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test, to train them is my cause. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide. Each Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. It's you and me. I know it's my destiny. Pokemon,
as with the other episodes, any of the periods of ambient forest sounds, of which there were many in this episode, every single one where it was just forest noises and bird song has been replaced by new 4Kids music. But the good thing about this period of 4Kids is that unlike the F-Zero Kirby period, they actually do keep most of the original music in here. It's just that they layer new music on the silent areas.
Mm.
And the new stuff they put in isn't that bad. The only reason it stands out from the original Japanese stuff is because all of the 4Kids stuff is synth, and the Japanese stuff is an orchestra.
So there's a very jarring juxtaposition.
It's not super jarring. I feel like you'd need to be listening. Like, they've tried to capture the same style, but if you listen carefully, you can tell which one's a synth and which one's an actual orchestra.
Gotcha.
They cut Misty's slap again.
Of course.
The weird part is, though, that they did not remove the sound effect of the slap.
I am the greatest! You're the worst!
How do you explain that away?
I guess you don't. I remember noticing it as a kid, but I thought it was an issue with my VHS tape. You know how sometimes a VHS tape, like phantom noises appear?
It's been a long time since I've watched VHS, so I'm gonna have to say sure.
I have a lot of memories of, like, there'll be something that I used to watch a lot on VHS. Like, I had a lot of friends' VHS tapes. If I watch those episodes now on, like, DVD or Netflix or something, there'll be parts where I'm like, where's that weird thump sound that's supposed to be there? But it's not supposed to be there. It was just on my tape.
It's the sound of the tape inside eroding.
Yeah, basically. And I always thought that's what that sound was in Pokemon. I thought it was just one of those phantom VHS noises. But apparently not. It's actually in the show.
Okay.
So you still hear Ash get slapped. You just don't see it anymore.
Let your imagination go wild.
And the other big change I noticed was the text that floats by in the background when Caterpie reacts to Misty yelling at him in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So
It is in Japanese in the original.
Yes, there's some Japanese characters that float by. They're just completely gone. The purple background is still there. It's exactly the same purple background, but it doesn't have the text float by anymore. I guess they like freeze framed it or something.
Yeah.
The text, I looked up what the text was. It says "gan,"
That's what I thought.
and it apparently that's an onomatopoeia for the sound of a large bell or of a scolding voice.
Mm.
So it was just kind of like a dong, basically.
Yeah. The bell of misery.
Yeah. And that's it. Other than that, it's pretty accurate.
Well, good for you, 4Kids.
There was one other thing I noticed, which was kind of an understandable change, I think, and that's when Ash first catches Caterpie, he's like rubbing the Pokeball against his face, and he's talking about how it must be like heaven for a Pokemon inside the Pokeball, and he says, "My Pokemon's heaven is my heaven," and then Misty says, "You guys' heaven is my hell."
Yeah.
That was changed. So instead, Ash just says,
I love my new little Pokemon.
and then Misty in the English version says,
I guess it takes a worm to love a worm.
and that, like, I guess they just wanted to remove any reference to heaven or hell.
Don't remind the children of the afterlife.
Yeah.
I would think that they just got rid of it because hell is a naughty word.
It could be that, yeah. So what did you think of this one?
It was an episode that I watched with my eyes.
I can't argue with that.
Like, it's a decent episode. It's just kind of slow in
Yeah.
episode 3E.
I liked it. I think I liked it because it was kind of slow.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like some slice of life things sometimes.
Yes.
And I think it's nice to just have... The first half of this episode kind of felt like a slice of life thing. And I don't think we really get that many episodes where it's just Ash hanging out with his Pokemon. Because that's really all it was for a lot of the episode. It was just Ash talking to Caterpie.
Yeah, or Pikachu talking to Caterpie for 7 minutes.
Okay, that part was a bit much. Yeah, didn't that feel like the episode was too short and they were just kind of like, we need something to fill up the time.
It sure did.
Let's have some more of the... How long is the part where Pikachu talks to Caterpie? 3 minutes? Make it 6.
We can do better than that.
It's probably only about 30 seconds, but 30 seconds is an eternity in TV.
It sure drags on, though.
I really liked the Pidgeotto fights. I thought they were really exciting and really well animated.
Yeah, that was cool. And I'm still mad that it didn't really get us anywhere.
Yeah, I wish Pidgeotto had a bit more focus, or ever got a bit more focus, because it really doesn't. Pidgeotto is here because sometimes Ash needs a bird's eye view of an area.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically Pidgeotto's function, is to come out, fly up high in the sky, and tell them which way Team Rocket went.
Well, this was Generation 1, so Pidgeotto is there just to fly him from town to town.
He never does that, though.
Well, that's a dang waste.
Yeah, they never use fly. I don't think they ever use fly in, like, any generation of the show.
Can you imagine hoofing it through Diglett Tunnel over and over and over again?
Did they even do... I don't know if they even did Diglett Tunnel in the show, now that you
Really?
mention it.
I remember there was a whole Diglett episode, but I guess it wasn't the tunnel.
There's a Diglett episode, but I think it's like a farm. I think they're like... Oh, no! I think they might be building a dam. And the Diglets are like destroying it. Something like that.
Maybe one of these days we'll get there.
Yeah, my main memory of the Diglett episode is the foreman of the construction site doing like a whack-a-mole with the Diglets.
You know what he was probably doing. He's probably trying to get Wacka's bump.
Yes. But then Wacka never comes back.
He never comes back. We don't deserve Wacka.
I never hit him. I've told you this before. I never hit him because I knew he wouldn't come back. I read online that he wouldn't come back. Like, first of all, it never occurred to me to hit him.
Oh, it occurred to me. I'm pretty sure I hit him the first time I saw him.
I didn't. He popped up and I spoke to him and then I was like, okay, cool, bye. And I realize now that he's designed to look like a whack-a-mole to give you the idea to hit him. But that...
His name is Wacka the Mole.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me. I just spoke to him and I was like, okay, I'm sure I'll figure out what he's for later. But then you never actually really go back there. It wasn't until I looked up on the internet to see what he was for that I found out about hitting him. But it also said, if you hit him, he'll never come back. So I was like, well, then I don't want to.
I can't remember if I hit him the first time, because the first time I played Paper Mario, I was a teeny tiny child, and I don't have memories from that far back. I definitely hit him one of the times that I was emulating it, but that was like at the end of the game. I was like, all right, Wacka, I'm going to need this just in case.
I always have the jam and jelly for the final battle. That's when I use my jam and jelly. So that I can just... I'm trying to remember what my strategy was. I'm pretty sure I just like picked 2 attacks that were easy to pull off perfectly and used them over and over again. I think Parakarry's like Yoshi's Island style shell firing move was how I took out most of Bowser's health.
I cannot say I remember specifics.
Such a good game.
It is a good game.
I'm so mad that the soundtrack version of the Bowser fight is not the version that actually plays in the game. The guitar synths in the soundtrack version are all fucked up and they sound awful.
Why did they do this to us?
I don't know. Like, is it an error? I don't know. But in the actual game, the guitar sounds really cool. But then the soundtrack version, which is the version I'm always finding on the internet, has this really awful, squealy, bad synth guitar instead.
Oh no.
At least that's how I remember it. You know, maybe I just remember it being better than it was.
That's
Also
also
possible.
possible.
Anyway, yeah, I liked this episode. I think I liked the first half better than the second half. Purely because the Caterpie battle at the end feels very contrived.
It does, but I kind of love it just because it's so stupid, and I really wish that String Shot was an actual functional move.
It is funny. It's just so abrupt.
Yeah.
It has that feel of like, how are we going to end this? I don't know. Do whatever. It's done.
We just wasted the last 8 minutes showing off Pidgeotto, but he didn't win the battle. Now what?
Yeah. I think I would have... You know what I would have preferred? I would have preferred if Ash did send out Caterpie as a second Pokemon, and then Caterpie used String Shot on the other two, and then Pidgeotto was able to finish them off. Yes, doesn't String Shot... It just lowers speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would have been perfect, because Pidgeotto's problem is that it couldn't handle both of them. So if Caterpie slowed him down with String Shot, then Pidgeotto could handle them both.
All right, but you're talking about a horrible parallel world where we break the rules of the league.
You're right.
We cannot throw out a second Pokemon. It doesn't matter how many Pokemon we're fighting.
Even though, I mean, since Ash doesn't age, less than a year later, the league is like, yeah, double battles are a thing.
Remember in Pokemon Legends when you could only throw out one Pokemon and there would be like 3, sometimes 4 Pokemon after you?
Sometimes 5.
And sometimes they all came from one trainer.
Yes, that was the most frustrating thing, when you're fighting a trainer and they send out 3 Pokemon, but you're still only allowed to use 1.
And they're all using fast attacks, so it's like 6 turns before you get to do anything.
There's a lot... I loved Pokemon Legends. I thought it was great, but it is extremely lacking when it comes to like trainer versus trainer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where I kind of think there just shouldn't be any trainer versus trainer stuff. That's kind of why that game doesn't have the longevity that the main series games have. And people are always like, Pokemon Legends is a main series game. It's not. Come on.
It's not.
Look at it. And I don't mean that as in, like, I'm not saying it's lower quality, because I think it actually might be higher quality than the main series games have been lately.
Agreed.
But it's very clearly a spin-off. It's an extremely high-quality spin-off.
It came out at the same time as the Diamond and Pearl remake, so it's leagues ahead of that.
Yeah.
But it's not quite a normal series Pokemon game, because I got bored in the post game. I'm like, well, now what am I supposed to do? The trainer battles stink.
There's like 3. There's like 3 trainers you can fight.
There's like no incentive to keep playing, because what's the point of getting your Pokemon to level 100? So you can just go out there and stomp on a Meryl. Meryl aren't in that. But if he was...
Were they not?
I don't think so.
God, I can't even keep track of what Pokemon they ditch these days.
Because I don't think Meryl was in Generation 4, was he?
I don't know. Well, yes.
Well, like the
but...
national decks.
Yeah.
Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Regional decks, I guess.
Maybe not. I can't remember. It didn't get a new form, so I'm unsure. But remember when Diamond and Pearl first came out, and like none of the old Pokemon that had new forms were actually obtainable in it?
Yes.
It's like, oh, we have a new evolved form of Electabuzz. But Electabuzz is also not in this game.
Oh my god, and they were just getting around to the GTS, and you couldn't just type in whatever Pokemon you wanted. You had to have seen it in order to look for it.
Which is so pointless. Like, the only way that works is if they have put every Pokemon in as a trainer battle. Even
Which
if you
they
can't
did
get
not.
it. Which they did not, no. And even then, like, stuff that you fight in the Battle Frontier doesn't get registered to your Pokedex.
Oh my god, I forgot that.
So, so even if you saw it in a battle facility, it's not in your dex.
I remember spending ages trying to get an Ursa ring because you don't see Teddy Ursa throughout the game. You only see Ursa ring, and I'm pretty sure you could only get Teddy Ursa from Emerald or something. Like, it was impossible to get this stupid bear back then. But the only thing I could do was look for somebody that wanted to trade Ursa rings.
Yeah, see, the thing with the GTS, people are always telling me, when people were sticking up for the fact that the GTS is gone now, around Sword and Shield, people were saying, the GTS is terrible anyway, nobody ever trades you for anything. And I was like, what are you talking about? You can easily get
everything from that.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
But I think the only way you can use the GTS now is through Pokemon Home.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, they don't actually include it in the main games anymore, which is super dumb.
I spent a lot of time in the GTS, and sometimes it would take longer than others, but like if you put in the description that you were looking for a hidden ability of like a game specific Pokemon, sometimes people actually listened and you actually got it.
Yeah. I got a lot of the Viridian forms doing that. There's only one that I don't have. The only one I'm missing is the Sandstorm form. Because you have to get that from like the Middle East or something.
Right.
Like, here, for anybody who's struggling to use the GTS, this is the life hack, right? Put a starter on the GTS. You can get any non-legendary you want.
Yeah.
People want starters. Yeah. You just breed your starter and put it up, and people will give you whatever you ask for, unless it's Mew or something.
That's the problem. It would get flooded with people putting their Rattata up there, being like, I want the access. Like,
Yeah.
no, you're not going to get anything that way. But if you have any idea of the actual value and rarity of your Pokemon, you can use it functionally.
Yeah. Yeah, do you think all the people who complain that you can't get what you want from the GTS are people who were just asking for legendaries for their early game rodent?
Not necessarily legendaries, but definitely putting Zigzagoon up there and asking for like a final evolution, like a Salamence.
Yeah, you have to be asking for something of equal or lesser rarity than what you're putting up.
Yes.
That's why starters are good, because you can breed more easily, and people always want the starters that they didn't pick, or starters from other generations.
Yes. I know you know the story about my shiny Drowsy.
Do I? Remind me.
I was playing Alpha Sapphire, and I was trying to fill out my national dex, and I had never seen a Drowsy. I'd seen Hypno, and I had Hypno, so I was breeding Drowsy. I just got the one egg, and it hatched purple. So the first Drowsy I saw was shiny, and I was livid, because at the time I was trying to shiny breed for something else.
Oh.
I had taken a break to try and get the shiny charm, and I get this stupid Drowsy, and I think I traded it for a Ho-Oh. Because if it's shiny, people will also drop something good for it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, people will drop their legendaries for a shiny. Or even more so back then, because shinies were rarer back then.
Mm-hmm.
Shinies are a lot easier to find these days. But when I was playing Scarlet, I was just wandering around like literally the first area of the game, and there was a shiny Scatterbug. It's on stream. I was on stream actually, so there's a clip of it. If you go to my Twitch channel at Skull Pirate Mike, you can find the clip of me encountering a shiny Scatterbug, and I was like, "Is that shiny? Did I just see a shiny one?" And people were like, "No, I think it's just the light." And then I walked up to it, and it was shiny.
Everyone's favorite Pokemon, Scatterbug, that I definitely remembered existed.
Yeah. Do you remember what it evolves into?
Mothron.
Spupa.
Pupa! That's
Yeah,
right.
And then Vivian.
That's right. I forgot it didn't just come out a butterfly.
Yeah, that was the Generation 6 3-stage bug. I don't think they have a new 3-stage bug for the new game, actually. There's no cocooning bug this time.
It's Caterpie's time to shine, I guess.
No, Caterpie's not in it.
I just mean as a concept.
Oh,
As
I
a
see.
this is what the episode is about, and Caterpie is King Supreme.
Yeah, I guess we have looped back to talking about 3-stage cocooning bug Pokemon. Everyone in the comments, I want to hear everyone's favorite 3-stage bug Pokemon.
Oh, that is easy. It is, oh my god, it's Scolipede.
Oh yeah, you love Scolipede.
Yeah, it's the best. Beats the rest.
It's pretty good. I'm gonna have to look at a list of them because I'm not sure. Like Butterfree has the nostalgia. I like Beedrill a lot, but I like Mega Beedrill and it's gone.
Not if you remain frozen in time like I did.
Yeah, that's true. You never left that. You never left the we have every Pokemon.
I retired in Alola.
I guess you did leave the we have every Pokemon because now there's new Pokemon that aren't in there.
I don't count them as real Pokemon.
Oh, you'd like some of them. I know exactly which ones you'd like.
Centiskorch.
Do you like Centiskorch? I do.
I do.
He's a good one.
I liked some of the dumb bugs, like Scolipede and Centiskorch.
The one that made me think of you the most... no, there's two that made me think of you, actually, when I was playing it. One of them is the Hat Witch thing. I can't remember its name.
Hatterene or something?
Yeah, something like that. And also there's, like, hair imps. Grimmsnarl, that's its name. It's a dark fairy type, and its hair is, like, wrapped around its arms to give it more power.
I don't know what you're talking about. My hair does not give me more power, but it does make my enemies less powerful.
With the hair wrapped around its body helping to enhance its muscles, this Pokemon can overwhelm even Machamp. Its hairs work like muscle fibers. When its hairs unfurl, they latch onto opponents, ensnaring them as tentacles would.
Okay, that does sound like me.
Yeah, there you go. It lives deep within the forest. Even after evolving into this splendid form, it hasn't given up on its petty misdeeds and pranks.
I don't know what you're saying about me, mister.
If only the shiny version was blonde. Let me see. Oh, well, it's like platinum blonde. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. If you'd like to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub, where you can also find conversations that I snipped out of the episode for being too stupid.
I'm looking at pictures of shiny Grimmsnarl. It looks like a Yeti.
Yeah, it does.
I'm okay being a Yeti.
You can also find us at coffee.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub. And you can find us on Twitter at sbreakfastfc. I'm Skull Pirate Mike, and I stream on Twitch, and I complain about things on Twitter.
Mostly the latter. Well, I don't have a fancy name or a fancy title. I'm just the dark shadow that lurks behind Mike and sometimes trips him.
Usually into plates of spaghetti that you've placed on the ground in front of me.
You would think that once you started seeing the ground peppered with plates of spaghetti, you'd get suspicious, but it never fails.
Well, that's because every time I see it, I'm like, ooh, spaghetti.
Spaghetti's pretty good.
It's a pretty good spaghetti.
It's been a long time since I've had one spaghetti.
I'll get you a spaghetti for Christmas.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Just don't be surprised if you end up tripping face first into it.
Oh, I'm only buying you a singular strand.
One wet noodle. Do I at least get a meatball?
If you're good.
Oh, I'm never good.
Bye! Cut this part.
Cut the part where Mike is a fool.
Oh no, we gotta have something left.
We'll have something left. It's just gonna be a picture of Mario Party 10.